Okay, so how do you think of this? Diversity.
So it's just a really good night.
Where was that? Where was that?
That's the deer's head.
Jo McParland.
Jemma Simpson, how are you?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for coming in.
You're very welcome. Good to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So really what we want to do today is just have a chat,
Sure.
some coffee, some crack,
Brilliant.
and talk all about diversity in the workplace and in schools.
Absolutely. Sounds good for me.
And what our combined mission is as well. So for those that maybe don't know, check out DiverseTalent.ai and you will see our community page is powered by Cara-Friend. And thank you so much for partnering with us as well. We share the same mission. Is essentially we want to enhance diversity and inclusion across all sectors, all generations, and give people the tools really to create safe spaces for obviously people who are from the LGBTQI plus community, but diversity is a spectrum, and it's really a main focus now for us to try and make sure that when somebody's applying for a job, one, they're going to the right company that can support their individuality, but also to enhance, I suppose would be the right word, their experience as being their most authentic self in the workplace.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's not just for this generation that we have. I think it's for future generations. You know, we have there's a need to create that really welcoming, inclusive space within the workforce.
Yeah.
And within schools as well.
Yeah.
And that's part of the work that CaraFriend are trying to deliver.
That's right. So my experience with Cara-Friend.
Yes.
I first heard about the charity probably in my early 20s, and would you believe it was whenever I was coming out? So when I come out, because you come out all the time, you come out to yourself, then you come out to some of your friends, then more of your friends, and then maybe your family, and then your workplace, and so on. And when I originally came out to my family, it was one of my aunts. He's in an older generation, put it like that. She's in her 60s, but very much a woman of the world. And she had recommended Cara-Friend to my own mother, like if you want to go and find out more about what Gemma's life might be looking like for when she's older, or even to have not so much mediation, but just to have that supporting element. So and that was nearly 15 years ago. So I'd love if you want to tell us a bit more about the foundations of Cara-Friend and why you are here.
CaraFriend is a longest established LGBTQI plus organisation in Northern Ireland.
Yep.
And we were set up back in 1974, really as a response to the gay liberation movement that had started off in the United States in the late 60s. And we are a safe place for young people who are LGBTQI plus. We also work with the community to create safe spaces for them and give advice. We have our helpline that has been going since the 1970s. But we also work with the community beyond and the greater society, because the work that we're doing with businesses and with schools is really that kind of work with society in general. So us with our business charter and our schools charter, trying to make those spaces more responsive to the needs of people that work in those spaces. So young people talking to teachers, talking to young people, developing the knowledge in school, and then also going into the business world and trying to get people to be more understanding about the LGBTQI plus community and what it's like to be LGBTQI plus in the workspace, and getting people to understand that and be more. What I talk about a lot is that there's a lack of knowledge here in Northern Ireland. And how can you expect people to be understanding or accepting of people that are seen as different if you have no understanding, no knowledge? So that's what we're trying to give people, knowledge in that kind of softly approach, but changing hearts and minds, giving that knowledge, and hopefully people will be able to understand our community a little bit better.
It's some journey that you've been on, and like you said, they're being established in 1974 in Northern Ireland. What a time to try and push equality and equal rights, because as a lot of us will know, there was other things happening in the country at that time, when other individuals were probably just not as important as peace was, and getting the bombs off the streets. So a gay person, they don't need any rights, because well, look at what we're doing right now. And whenever I'm 31 years of age, I didn't experience that time of life, but I only can talk about my experience in the last maybe 10-15 years, where equality, diversity and inclusion outside of the religious element has really been brought forward, and we're now at a stage surely 30 years behind every other country.
Absolutely.
But we're getting there, and it's been possible to get there and have these open conversations by Cara-Friend and other relevant charities putting that into place way gone when, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been a long slog, and I do think we were dealing with a lot of other things that you know the rest of the UK weren't dealing with. I think we are catching up. I still think we have a lot of work to do. You know, it's one thing having legislation in place. It's another thing changing people's perceptions.
Yeah.
And trying to get people to not be prejudicial and not be discriminatory.
That's it.
That takes a little bit more time.
Mm-hmm.
But we are moving in the right direction. CaraFriend would not be as successful as we are right now in the likes of working with schools and working with businesses if it wasn't for the fact that people did want to move on. They do see that there's a need there to educate.
Yep.
So we have been very successful in that move because people are saying we want this and we want to be more knowledgeable.
Mm-hmm. I'm a big believer in that 100%. It's community driven.
Yeah.
It's allied driven.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is so important. And I've been having conversations recently about, you know, what more can individuals do to support equality. Whether it's with more females in the workplace, in LGBT plus in the workplace, or creating those safe spaces for individuals. And it needs to be led by allies as well. It needs to be people in senior leadership roles, commanding from bottom up, top down. This is who we are. This is the fabric of our organisation, that we create this environment that is safe and nurturing for all individuals. And it is driven by allies, 100%. And that's how DiverseTalent came around, really. I would never have launched this business had I not known that A, there was a demand, and B, there was support.
Yeah.
And that support element. We look at our customers are amazing employers that use our services, that have stuck with us through our startup cycle, where we were still trying to find our feet and trying to understand our approach. And you know, yes, I'm a female gay founder. Do I really have the relevant experience to be talking about what is an ethical organisation? Well, actually, yeah, because I have experienced it. Yeah. But it's partnering with really good minds and charities like yourselves that have an even broader experience and exposure in these areas, that have been able to support our mission. And you know, customers that we've got, such as Liberty IT or PA Consulting, that are big global names. And whenever they're tagging DiverseTalent into whether it's a LinkedIn post or, you know, partner with us in some sort of element, that really showcases their commitment as well, because they know we're different. They know that we're not going to represent every employer. You need to be able to showcase we are diverse and we are inclusive because of we do this, and that's the whole purpose of us as well.
Yeah, and I think you know, there's lots of organisations out there, and they have an ethos of respect.
Yeah.
I think that's what it needs to be. It's about mutual respect. Mm-hmm. You know, the LGBTQI plus community aren't looking for anything more. We're just looking for equal.
Yeah.
And therefore, I think you have to understand the concept of diversity.
Yep.
You know, diversity is about difference. You know, people are different, but everybody should be seen as equal. So instead of looking at people's differences and saying that you're less than because you're different in this way, whether it's around sexual orientation, gender identity, religion, cultural background, disability, whatever. Yeah. It's about saying that difference just means that you are different, because we are all different, but we can respect that difference. Diversity is a positive word. And I think if that is part of an organization's ethos, then that's going to, you know, be very beneficial to them, because you want to attract people who see your organization, you know, as being inclusive. And I think I talk to a lot of organizations and they say, we are inclusive. I'm like, grand, okay, great, but how are you showing that? You know, what are you doing? How are you proving that to your staff? Yeah. And they're like, well, we don't really do anything. Well, how are your staff supposed to know? Yeah. How are new people that want to work in your you know, business, how are they supposed to know that this is a business that I want to work in? Yeah. If you're not doing anything, you know, if you're
visibility.
Exactly. If you're not doing anything during Pride, if you're not doing anything during LGBT Awareness Week, if you don't talk about these issues, if your policies and procedures aren't robust enough, you know, if you don't show people, how are they supposed to know? It's exactly the same in schools. Yeah. If schools aren't showing young people, how are they supposed to know that they can come out? You know, what you said earlier on, you want to bring your authentic self into the workplace. well, if you're not telling people that you can and that's a welcome, safe place to do that, they're not going to. So doing nothing is just as bad as saying something negative. The only thing that people can do, companies, businesses, schools, is to say something positive, to let people know that they can be out if they want to be, and if they're not ready to be, it's still a safe place for them to come out and when they're ready.
Yeah, that's right. Well, look, first up, school charter.
Yes.
Now, what has been the most interesting kind of seminar you've done in a school?
We deliver two different types of training. So we deliver the all-out anti-bullying workshop for children, and over the past 6 years we've delivered that to about 17,000 young people. So that's nearly 700 workshops.
Yeah,
it's quite a lot.
It is. That's a lot of teenagers.
It's a lot of teenagers, and it's a lot of interesting questions that you get from teenagers as well. But I mean, it's brilliant because schools, see it as something that they want to really take on board and want to run with.
Yeah.
And we have schools coming back year after year after year, so it's brilliant. And schools find us for the first time and wanting to engage, and it has become, it has got to the point where I couldn't do it all by myself. No. So we've had to take on a new member of staff.
Brilliant.
Who's also called Jemma.
Oh,
Jemma,
must be a thing.
Jemma with the G though.
Oh, right.
And we've also have our business volunteers that come on board as well, that come into schools with us.
Yeah.
And they help deliver the workshops. So from all different organisations, business people, professionals, people who just have a real desire to teach young people, they get access in out and they get into schools and teach the workshop that I train them up how to teach. So that's great. So 17,000 young people in 6 years is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
With the other type of training that we do in schools is for teachers. Yeah. And that's our LGBTQI plus awareness training. And again, in the last 6 years we've delivered that training to over 6,000 teachers, school staff, PGCs, students, anyone that works in a school environment. Yeah. And again, that's a lot of people that we've talked to as well. And again, that's been taken up every year more and more. Yeah. So that's great, giving that information, because it has to come from those two levels, from teachers and from young people, creating that safe space in schools. The charter kind of developed because going out and giving a little bit of training every now and again, not really going to do very much good. Yeah. So the charter was developed to try to get schools to think about what they can do. So it's not just about the training, but also, core inclusion activities that they need to think about. How can I be more responsive to young people here? What can we do? So it's everything from changing, their policies and procedures, to putting up notice boards, to looking at doing something during LGBT Awareness Week, Anti-Bullying Week, just little things that they can do, that they can show young people that we are inclusive. Yep. And there's 3 levels that schools can come into: silver, gold and platinum. We have schools that have achieved every single level.
That's amazing.
We have a lot of schools that are working towards it at the minute. Yeah. So at end of year 1 we had 3 schools, 1 at each level. And by the end of this year I think we're going to have a lot more schools through. Yeah. And every year it will continue, but there's a real desire there to do the charter.
Massively. And again, on a local level in this country in particular, it's pretty awesome. We talk about integration education in this country, and I'm very fortunate that I did go to an integrated secondary school. It was one of the first of its kind in the country, and at that time the main focus was, let's just get the 2 religions in the same classroom for a change, and obviously male and female and everybody else in between into the same classroom. That was the primary focus. That was integration, is bringing 2 religions together. And now it's okay, actually integration is, let's talk about equality, let's talk about sexual orientation, about different religions, ethnicities, race and so on. And that's really where you are championing that, because it was one learning curve for teachers to be aware of different religion and different kind of structures that will follow that, and now they're being transformed into building out safer environments for perhaps trans kids, or those that came out quite early as teenagers as well. And so you actually have the toolkit there to provide them with that and that knowledge, because let's not forget, teachers are humans as well, and teaching is a job. It's obviously it's not 9 to 5, it's a lifestyle kind of too. But if that teacher had ever been in an environment where they've met LGBTQI people before, they're going to struggle when they're talking to their kids.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is something that was not taught to me when I was at school. I'm a little bit older than you, Gemma. I'm not going to say how old, but I am a little bit older than you. But, like, when I was at school, this was something that was never talked about. And we have generations that have grown up in Northern Ireland that just don't have any knowledge. So they're not going to understand. They're maybe not going to be as accepting. Age is not the only factor.
Yeah.
There's a lot of intersectionality going on.
Absolutely.
But it is a factor where we didn't get this sort of this information.
Yeah.
You know, what we're providing in schools to teachers, to staff, is an awareness of how they can be more inclusive. So if they do have young people that are coming out, they do have young people that are trans or non-binary or LGBT, that they have the tools to work with them, that they know what the conversations they need to have with those young people, and that they know it's not just, this is what we do for you, this is about bringing this young person to the conversations, asking that young person, what is going to make you more comfortable in this environment? There is no statutory guidance for young people, for schools around the LGBTQI plus community.
That is ridiculous.
There are guidelines that the EA have given out in 2018, but schools do not have a responsibility to live up to those if that's not within their ethos.
Right.
So what we're trying to do is make sure schools have the information, that they know how to work with their young people, and hopefully it will get to the stage where all schools, maybe there will be something legislation wise down the line, but in that gap for now, we do feel that there's a service to what we are offering schools, and the fact that we're giving information that they're not getting from anywhere else.
Yeah, I know. And from a HR perspective, obviously I've worked in the recruitment and HR sector for 12 years, and it wasn't really until maybe the last 5 years that I started taking an interest in employment law. And then that's whenever I discovered the 2010 Equality Act. And I was like, hold on a minute. Before 2010, you could be discriminated against for your sexuality in the workplace, and you wouldn't have had a leg to stand on.
The interesting thing about the Equality Act is that it doesn't even cover Northern Ireland.
No.
You know, it's for the rest of the UK, England, Scotland and Wales. We have a rake of different equality legislation here in Northern Ireland, which is broadly the same as what the Equality Act says, but that's again, you know, we're part of the UK. Should we not be under the same equality legislation?
That's a conversation for
that's
another
a
chat, Jo. It really is. But so that's great. So obviously, schools charter has been going on for 6 years, and now you've developed the business charter.
Well, the training in schools has been going on for 6 years. The schools charter just started around about just a couple of years ago, just before lockdown, or started talking about it before lockdown. But the business charter has really just come about, you know, since last April, really. We started having conversations about it, and it was launched in June.
Brilliant.
And so far it's been really successful. Basically the same kind of premise as the schools charter. Training that we will give organisations, and then the organisations actually need to do something themselves to show that they're being inclusive in the same sort of way as the schools charter. But businesses, the response from businesses here has been really high.
Good.
I think we are, you know, it's a difficult economic situation at the moment, with, you know, cost of living and all of that, and businesses, you know, are you know, a lot of them are struggling. But we are still, you know, trying to work with businesses in any way that we can, whether it's them doing the charter or getting a little bit of training, you know, or working with, you know, finances and all of that. We're willing to talk and have discussions with businesses to come to some arrangement that suits everybody. You know, we understand the certain you know, what is happening in today's society, but it's been brilliant because I think businesses here are really looking for equality. They're looking to make their workplace a safer environment so that people can bring their authentic self into work. And you know, it's something that is important. We want people to feel comfortable. We want people to feel welcome. And if that's not the case, then businesses do need to look at themselves and think, why are we not getting the diverse people here that we want to have? Why is nobody out? Because certainly we have a big organisation and nobody's coming out. Well, obviously people might want to come out, but they don't feel that that's a comfortable environment to come out in. So you have to look at yourself, you know. And
that's really interesting you saying that. So obviously we are a tech company now, so we're recruitment service based, but now we've launched our platform. And part of the startup world, Jo, is raising investments, right? So I will toddle off to these different investor meetings, and I'll speak to, you know, private angels, high net worth individuals that have lots of money, and they're like, like Dragon's Den. So I'm like, I'll give you X amount of percentage for X amount of money. And a really interesting conversation that comes up regularly is, you know, if we were investing into you, what is your market? You know, who is going to be attracted to diverse talent? What kind of candidates are you attracting for your customers? Is it just diversity? What, and then you have to look at the census reports. What percentage of people are non-white in Northern Ireland? Is that your only diverse remit? And actually, it's not. And it goes back to that ally question or conversation we had as well. It's diversity in the workplace matters to more than just diverse individuals. It is people that, okay, I might be white, straight, male if you work in tech, for example. However, I only want to work for an employer that is supporting, people of color or LGBTQI people. I only want to work for an organization where my friends and my family would be feeling supportive for whatever reason. And we already know through our data analysis that Gen Z, the next generation currently, I don't know what I am. I think I'm a millennial or whatever it is from 1991. That's where I fit into.
I think I'm before that.
Well, you call yourself whatever you want. 47% will only work for an organisation that meets their values. So it doesn't matter if you offer them, £1 million.
Yeah.
If you're not actually giving them a suitable work environment that meets their ethics, they're going to completely bypass you. And in turn, and again, this is the recruiter in me, what happens to companies that are trying to grow? They have to grow, they've got to get new staff in, they've got to get new skills in. If they're not investing in ethical workplaces, they're not going to attract the right talent, and then the company ultimately is going to fail. There's doomsday.
Yeah, but I mean, there's so many young people here over generations. I have plenty of friends that couldn't stay in Northern Ireland because they didn't feel comfortable here,
right?
And they've gone off to England or Scotland or further afield, and we have been hemorrhaging talent.
We have
for decades.
Yeah.
And we will continue if people don't see Northern Ireland as being a space where they can stay and work, and where they can grow their portfolio and work for businesses that represent them.
Yeah.
So we will continue to hemorrhage. And I think there are plenty of companies here that know what they have to do, but maybe they're just slow on the uptake. But if they do want to, like you say, if they do want to grow, if they do want to develop, they're going to have to change the way they think, because people want to work in that diverse environment. They don't want to feel like they are behind the times. They don't want to feel like they're working 20 years in the past or 40 years in the past. They want to work in that same vibrant environment that you can get if you worked in London or Glasgow or wherever else. So I think Belfast has a little bit of work to do, but I think the work that you're doing is brilliant, because that's what you're creating. That's what you're trying to build.
Well, that's it. It's all well and good putting a pride flag out your window, or you're changing your LinkedIn banner to a pride flag in June and in the summer months, but like, oh, we're going to go to Pride. Okay, that's great. What are you actually doing policy wise? Your language and the terminology that you use, or if somebody applies to your job position and they may have a beard but they come up and dressed in female attire, do you know how to communicate with that person? Do you know how to respect them through that process as well? And luckily through our kind of auditing system, we know the right companies to send somebody who maybe is in the early stages of transitioning, still has the right to feel safe, still has the right to work in a company where they feel valued as well. So it's us trying to find out, okay, this is the right match for you. We obviously, that's our opinion. Everybody's welcome to their own, but that's how we will support people into better workplaces. I think what we're doing now collectively across the whole diversity spectrum, and not just Cara-Friend, DiverseTalent, but the other charities as well. There is more motivation now. There's a lot more investment being made into these regions, and I seriously believe that Northern Ireland could become kind of like the San Francisco if we just allow it. We can. We have the investment. We have the big American companies coming here and saying, yes, we're going to set up a hub. We're going to hire 500 people. Oh well, actually, do you know what it is? We don't have the talent. We need to attract talent from outside. So that's again another conversation for another day, but by ensuring that you have the right policies and message across, that's what's going to help us.
And I don't think it shouldn't be a tick box exercise. No. It shouldn't be something going, we've done that. It needs to be embedded in an ethos. Respect isn't just something that you can go, we do, if you're not showing it. So it has to be embedded in the ethos. That's why all of the things that CaraFriend are doing with regards to the charter, it's you do have to do them, but they're to be maintained, and it's to be evaluated as well. So you start off in this position, in 2 years' time, where is your understanding within the organisation? How have you progressed?
Yeah.
So it's measurable.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. So not a tick box exercise, it's something that is to be completely embedded. And I think in that way, you know, if people can see that organisations are really honestly living up to what they're saying they are, then you will get the talent staying here, and they won't be leaving to other parts of the UK and beyond.
That's it. Well, I'm going to ask you a series of quick fire questions.
Oh goodness.
And Jo has not been given these questions beforehand, so I apologise. But in your own words, question 1, right? What is the biggest piece of investment in diversity do you think companies need to look at? Very loaded, isn't it? Everything.
Yeah, I think they need to invest. Well, I think they need to invest in. I think they really need to look at their legislation, or not their policies.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you are trying to build an organisation, I think you need to look at your policies, you know, your inclusion policy, and make sure that those policies are robust around the LGBTQI plus community and other minority groups within the business.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't have that right, how can you build something if the grassroots, if the ground roots aren't in place? So I think you have to build your policies.
Yeah.
And people can look at those and go, this is what the organisation is all about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I wanted to get help from Cara-Friend for my organisation, who would I contact and what can I expect?
Well, you can contact any member of staff, because we all can signpost to each other, and
Brilliant.
depending on what our particular area of responsibility is, then we can signpost to each other.
Yep.
And if we can't help you, then we will signpost you outside of CaraFriend. We're very much about working with the sector organisations, so if there's something that we cannot do, we'll always pass you on to somebody who can.
Yeah.
But the team will just interact with each other. But, you know, if anyone wants to get in contact with me, and if I can't help you, I will definitely pass you on to somebody that can.
Fab, I love it. Well, Jo, thank you so much for taking the time to come in and speak with us. Obviously, CaraFriend is our charity partner, and what that really means to us is by providing some of the guidance that you would support with organisations onto our platform. So that the terminology guide, for example, the LGBTQ plus, and I never get it right, and I can never get the acronym right, and I can never get the flag right, because it's constantly changing as well, and it's hard to keep up to date with. But that information that we've gotten on the platform will help us all to learn the language and what is the terminology. So what is a bisexual? You can find it very clearly here. And obviously as well, we've done a lot of charity sponsorship too. So we sponsored Belfast Blaze, which is Northern Ireland's only LGBT football team, and we're trying to enhance that out further as well. So yeah, we're just trying to do it all, aren't we?
Yeah, and I just want to say one thing, you know, around terminology.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to be a walking encyclopedia, so you can, you know, refer.
You can mess up sometimes.
You can mess up and just say, like, can you explain something to me? But you know, definitely, you know, have a look at educating yourself a little bit more, and if you do have knowledge, educate others. Yeah. You know, if you do know what LGBTQI plus means, tell somebody what it means. You know, write it down and see how they get a bit fluffed a bit, you know, around about the T, the Q, and the I. Yeah, but you know, it's all about learning. It's all about learning.
It is great. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Jo, thank you.